Okay, this is Impact from North Somerset. Yep. Enabling young people to impact their own lives as well as the community in which they live.
Thank you. Hi, thanks for that. I'm actually from Milton Baptist in Weston-super-Mare. Clarence Baptist was our founder church. We're the daughter church, and then we planted another church in Wirral slightly further on. How do I get my presentation on here? Please. When I arrived, I did actually say that this is a far more grassroots project. I'm not particularly technical. I know we're in a media centre, but I get other people to do that, so yeah. Okay, I come from Milton Baptist Church. I've been working with the young people there for 10 years now, and that project has had a number of what we'd call facelifts, for want of a better word. When I first arrived at Milton back in 2001, very beginning of 2001, I was asked to go and look at the youth group and see what they were doing. And I went along and found that the first activity they were doing was going 10-pin bowling in Bristol. It was supposed to be a group for 13 to 19-year-olds. There was one 13-year-old. All of the others were over 19. They proceeded to the bar, got themselves a drink, and had random discussion for the course of the evening. And I was then asked to give feedback to the church leadership on how this was a faith group and how this was impacting their community. I didn't go down well with the leaders at the time, but it had to have a number of changes made to it because, as the previous presenters were saying, it was one of these places where, yes, people were having fellowship, but it wasn't actually hitting young people. It wasn't what the 13 to 19s were actually saying, this is what we want, this is what we need. So we started working. At the time, they were called Senior YPF, and I don't know about you, but I think there is a big thing about names of groups. Senior YPF stood for Senior Young People's Fellowship. And if you'd asked the young people at the time what they were known as, they would say, oh, we're Senior YPF. What does it stand for? I don't know. And so we had major issues of thinking, well, why are these young people coming to this group? They didn't know why they were coming. They didn't know what they were supposed to be doing. And they were just coming, playing pool, playing football, and going home. And to some extent, I think in some places, youth work is still seen as that. It's providing a space. And yes, I agree, we need to provide a space and we need to provide a safe environment. But we need to be engaging with the young people where they're at and what they're doing and giving them new experiences, enabling them to learn new skills. This is our present youth group. And this particular group of young people, we've been a bit mean. We've been doing Myers-Briggs on them. We've been finding out all sorts of things about their personality so that actually we can tailor what they ask us to do and how they want to do it to ways that then can engage with each of them on their own levels. We were finding that some of these young people wouldn't interact with anybody else in the group. And we couldn't quite work out why they wouldn't interact with any group until we suddenly realised how introverted they were, and that we needed to be able to provide opportunities for them to be able to express themselves. Many in this group, as you can see, they're quite full of character, and they are as talented could be. And we suddenly discovered this about 1.5 years ago when we did an impromptu talent show. And we had musicians coming out of the woodwork. There's a lad who's right in the middle in the blue jumper. He is the most phenomenal Michael Jackson impersonator. His moonwalk is spectacular. And they have since started to do and ask for more opportunities to be able to show their creative talents. We've got guys up there who do puppeteering. And so in February of this year, we ended up having, after many, many opportunities given to them to just sort of practice and do X Factor style evenings, we opened it up to the community, and their parents and their friends and their colleagues and many members of the church faith community came in order to be able to support them. And the amazing thing was that many of these young people suddenly said, people are interested in what we're doing. They were amazed that people who didn't know them, people who were part of the church as a whole, were willing to give up their Saturday night to come and see the young people perform. And that was a major boost to who they were and what they were trying to achieve. One of the joys of having been able to work with these groups is that it's been a privilege for me because I've been there for so long. And consistency has had a major impact on the lives of young people. The two girls who are at the front, in that top left, from your point of view, picture, they started in the youth group when I first was at Milton Baptist Church. As they grew, their faith grew, and they decided that actually we would encourage them in a mission. Mission was a big part of what we were teaching and what we were encouraging them to become involved in. And they went off, the one on the left went off to Nepal, and the one on the right went off to Brazil with Baptist Missionary Society. And they had an experience of a new culture. They went in their gap year. And they were so excited about what they'd seen, what they'd heard, what they'd learned, that they came back and they shared that experience of culture with the other young people. In total, over the last 10 years, we've had 6 young people go off. We've had them go to India, Nepal, Trinidad, Tobago, and somewhere else. They've been to China. We've had one group went to France, but they went to all of these different places in order to experience different culture and to be able to share their faith. And not only did they share their faith, but they were then impacted by the faiths of those communities to come back because they'd had their eyes opened as to how much culture there was in the world. So we did have to live as they'd seen in the slums, and the young people stayed overnight in order to do that. And they did dress in the true saris. And just came out of their comfort zones. I was really amazed that it was only the boys who wanted to dress up in the saris. None of the girls did. And that really surprised me, but it really encouraged me as to the fact that these young people wanted to get involved and wanted to have these experiences.